Good morning. Rise and freedom. Austin Peterson here, and not only have you got me, you've got a microphone that's working, check. You've got video that's working, check. And we're all here together bright and early in the morning. How's it going? Did you have a good weekend? Glad to have you here. Don't forget, if you're a regular, you know what to do. You got to click that like button. I saw Kermode Bear already did so in the chat. He lovingly pawed it. Appreciate you very much, Kermode. If you're a regular guest of the show, you know to click that like button, and that if by the end of the show today we raise our $60 goal, you're going to get a sweet little mini documentary. It's going to be lovely and wonderful. So get those Rumble Rants in early. That way you don't have to watch any commercial breaks when we bring on our guests. Our first guest at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, Will Scharf. He is Donald Trump's attorney. He'll be joining us today to talk about, well, Donald Trump's going to be in a probation hearing today. Gee, I hope he's not a flight risk. Courtney Conover already in with the jabs from the top rope. What a boring shirt, LOL. All my fun shirts were in the wash this morning. Shut up. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We'll speak to Donald Trump's lawyer at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Will Scharf will be joining us. He was making the joke. I was reminding him last night, don't forget your interview tomorrow morning, et cetera, et cetera. He goes, how could I turn you down after that Zapruder-like investigation that you did of my interview with George Stephanopoulos last week? It was quite Zapruder-like. What's with all the plain shirt cracks? You know what? Every once in a while, I get to look like a normal human being right on the show. Don't worry. We'll be back to our goofiness tomorrow. At 8 a.m. Central Time, we're going to hear from Remso Martinez. He likes tacos and burritos. He's going to join us at 8 a.m. Central Time to talk about John Fetterman saying that he has abandoned the label of progressive. He is no longer a progressive after what happened on October 7th of last year. He don't identify. I can kind of understand what it's like when you're in a situation with like a group of people and you all call yourself a certain name, and then that group of people turns out to be a bunch of lunatics and psychopaths, and then you say to yourself, do I really want to be associated with that anymore? And, you know, John Fetterman continues to impress. Honestly, I feel like Fetterman is the better man. Urs Mommy says, Austin's shirt may be boring, but his show never is. Ouch. I'll talk about a backhanded compliment. Appreciate you guys. Glad to have you here, and thank you for that donation, Urs Mommy. We're $10 towards the $60 goal to unlock today's bonus mini documentary. We're very grateful for that. Thank you, Urs. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Don't forget, too, that you can also make purchases at apforlibertyshop.com. And I keep adding some new awesome merchandise, so much new awesome merchandise. Now, I don't want to get into too much of the nitty-gritty details of this because I know some people might get bored. I want to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening with the Wake Up America shows, specifically our merchandise shop, which I haven't talked about until the ink was dry on this contract. But the good news is that AP for Liberty shop is kind of growing up. It's been an exciting journey, 2 years that I started this e-commerce business, and I really only started the shop so that I could sell the 3D printed Thomas Jefferson and George Washington Buddhas that I was printing using my 3D printers in my shop because somebody was like, I want to buy that, and I had no mechanism with which to sell it to them. So I just started up my Shopify. I was like, I wonder if anybody want to buy these. 2 years later, the AP for Liberty shop merchandise store has turned into a massive sort of patriotic superstore. And this week, I actually just signed a contract to expand the merchandise store to now cover 11 radio stations on the Gulf Coast of the United States. I'm expanding. I just took a large percentage of the American conservative market share when it comes to e-commerce, when it comes to patriotic merchandise. What does that mean, Austin? What are you talking about? Well, what that means is that a certain radio station that has about 11 different stations in Texas on the Gulf Coast is now contracted with AP for Liberty Shop to handle all of their merchandising needs. So essentially, we probably increased the size of the shop by about a third over the last 2 weeks. I've been negotiating this for the last few weeks. Been pretty busy between that and running to the hospital, take Steffi for regular checkups and appointments. We've been very busy. But you know what else is really exciting is that's not even half of what I've been working on behind the scenes to share with you. So many exciting new projects that are in the fire to share with you. That's only one of them, one part of it. And there's so much more details about that I could share, but I don't want to go into it too long because I know you guys want to hear the news. But I know since you're this early and joining the show that you're probably a fan anyway, so you want to hear it. So yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to telling you guys more details about it later. But let's go ahead and hit the news because I do want to share with you the stories that I have this morning, and of course the incredible clips that I have. Some of them, not the most exciting clips from the Israeli Special Forces rescue of the 4 hostage raids in 2 Hamas locations. Did you hear about that reporter, that journalist that they had that was killed in the raid? He was apparently one of the people who was holding the hostage. That's why you can't trust many of these journalists, especially the ones that are working for these foreign powers. Like this journalist, we'll talk about him a little bit later. He was like, reporting on what was going on, trying to pretend like he was not a player in the game. But it turns out that one of these reporters, who was very pro Hamas in his coverage, obviously, was one of the people who was holding the Israeli hostages, and thankfully he was killed in the raid. So good job there, IDF. Yeah, Frickety says huge, so big. This would be the biggest Liberty News merch store, billions of dollars. Yeah, it's exciting. So if you want to kind of see like what I'm doing with it, and how I'll be expanding, like I'll be copying this model actually for other institutions that have contacted me to do the same thing, which I can't reveal just yet. But it's called the Walton and Johnson Collection. They're a conservative radio station in the Gulf Coast of Texas. That's actually the Lake Jackson area where Ron Paul is from, which is pretty sweet. So and then it covers like all the way up to like Biloxi, Mississippi, I believe. So Walton and Johnson collection over at AP for Liberty Shop, basically offering them a lot of the same types of merch that we have at the shop, right? With their logo, with their branding, and with essentially we'll be also creating new products for them to sell for their audience. So if it's successful, then boy, oh boy, things are really going to get exciting. And I will actually be copying that model to try and expand into other conservative markets around the country to see if I can start to turn. Well, the goal is actually to take AP for Liberty Shop and just turn it into the For Liberty Shop, which would mean controlling more market share. We're taking over, America. Here we go. All right. So I've got 20 minutes until I get to Will Scharf, but I had this other story that I wanted to talk to you about before we get there, because this is definitely something that affects us all. It's not just the political class. America's fleet of cars and trucks is also getting long in the tooth. Last month, there was this study by S&P Global Mobility that reported that the average age of vehicles in the United States was 12.6 years, right? Up more than 14 months since 2014. I've got a 2012 F-150, and I think I'm going to drive it until the wheels come off, and you probably know why. Thank you, Courtney Conover, for that donation. I'll read that a little bit later. So if you single out passenger cars, the number jumps to actually 14 years, the average age of vehicles in the United States. Now, in the past, the average age statistic was taken as a sign of transportation's burden on our household budgets. And of course, those burdens are at all-time highs. The average transaction price of a new vehicle is hovering around $47,000. Jeez.
Oh, God!
Now, inflation and interest rates are starting to back away a little bit from the recent highs that we've seen, but insurance premiums, have you noticed, have soared by double digits in the last year. Many buyers are now kind of surfing the wave of vehicle depreciation. We're all looking for used or off-lease cars or trucks that are still under warranty because we're trying to buy things that are just less than new. And that's smart, right? But, another kind of stranger element has been showing up in these numbers. And that's a belief among consumer that the automakers' latest offerings, like whether they're powered by gasoline batteries or a hybrid system, are actually inferior to the products that they're replacing. So most of these new vehicles that are rolling off the assembly lines, people don't like them. I don't like them, to be quite honest. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Um, and that's actually different because when I was a kid, we always thought that like new was better than old, right? So especially when it came to the car industry, we always thought you were better off having a new vehicle than you were an old vehicle, right? So, the car industry was always like, newest, latest, greatest, right? But the thing is, a lot of people are really concerned about the rise of these digital technologies in their cars that could expose our personal information to the Chinese, or worse, to our insurance agencies, right? And of course, some of these other modern marvels, if you will, that people don't like are these stop-start cycling systems. I freaking hate these things, right? They shut off the engines to save fuel when vehicles are stationary, and now they're basically all but mandatory in new vehicles. And then you've got compact vehicles with small displacement engines, diesel exhaust fluid, a post-combustion exhaust treatment that modern diesel engines just can't live without. And many others of us are just trying to hang on to the good things they've got, like three-pedal stick-shifted manual transmissions. You remember those? Those are virtually extinct now in new cars. What about built-in CD players? You remember when they used to have those, right? So, what kind of unites people like me and other people who are in agreement with this is that older cars are not just cheaper but better, and that touchscreens suck. And they kind of do. I'm gonna be honest. I actually had a new speaker system installed because my radio died in my truck. So I had like a new system installed, and they're like, "Do you want one with a turn knob on it?" And I was like, no, I don't need to pay $100 more to have one with a turn knob." Now I look back and I regret that, actually. I really don't like the touchscreen system without any kind of like haptic feedback, typically like you would get on your phone. So it's really tough to know where you're touching on the screen, and it's very distracting. It feels like it would be a lot better if it was more and you had more of that manual experience. And now here's a question for you. Can you name a new car, a truck, SUV that's not as desirable as the design it replaces? Um, I'll give you a minute to think about it here. So, name any car, truck, or vehicle that is actually better than the vehicle that it replaces. Okay. Um, or excuse me, it's not as desirable as the designer replaces. So, well, some of the names that were on this list from this piece is this Toyota Land Cruiser, the Mini Cooper, the Ford Mustang, the Toyota Crown, the Ford F-150, and just about every model of BMW that you can think of. So, the past 35 years has been the best of times for automobiles and those who love them according to the industry, right? An era when engineers had all the advantages of assisted design and precision manufacturing while still wielding the primal force of combustion, right? So what they're doing is like all of these emission standards that the government is forcing down our throats are forcing these vehicles to change to make them less efficient, less effective, right? The Wall Street Journal put together an interesting list of some of the vehicles where the older models are much more coveted than the newer models. I don't know if we have any Porsche fans out there, but the Porsche 911 Carrera, the 2009 to 2013, was considered the sweet spot in the 911 Carrera history. The 9972 version combines up to 500 horsepower, a 7-speed manual gearbox, and Bluetooth, right? So you've got a nice, strong, roaring engine that doesn't shut down because Joe Biden told it to because you're using too much gas. And you've still got some of the modern accoutrement of things like you want to listen to the Wake Up America show in the morning and connect your Rumble to your Bluetooth speaker through your phone. Great. Well, the Porsche Carrera does that from 2009 to 2013. But once you get into those newer models, then they start messing with it and it makes it worse. The Ford Mustang was another example of this. The 2015 to 2023 models, they say this is a peak pony car. The 6th-gen Mustang has an independent rear suspension, optional 6-speed manual, and no electronic driving nannies. I have to say it is quite annoying. I rented a car when I was in San Francisco last year, And I just, all of those stupid, annoying, like, you're on the line, you're on the line, like, giving you all those beeps and boops and all that crap that's supposed to be for safety. And then you can't turn a lot of that stuff off. Like, what is another feature in your car that's like, oh, the damn seatbelt? God, like, it makes me want to not wear my seatbelt or futz with my car so that I don't have to hear that stupid seatbelt thing. Sometimes I'm just driving around my neighborhood. I don't want to wear a seatbelt. I don't want a seatbelt. Lesbian vehicle, Subaru Outback. My wife has one. The 5th gen design was old school, even in its time, without a dominating touchscreen in the center. The 6th gen Outbacks have them. Toyota Avalon, apparently 1995 to 2022 was the golden age there. What's in a name? The new Crown taps in as Toyota's family sedan in the U.S., replacing the Avalon. A lot of Toyota lifers prefer the look of the Avalon. So 1995 to 2022, these are the vehicles that everybody are looking for these days. What about you? Love to hear your thoughts. 573 319 1586. Again, that's 573 319 1586. That's the text line. Let's hear from you on your thoughts on the news of the day. You can again send those texts. One listener just texted in this morning, said that the 2001 Chevy Lumina still rocking. Let me look at that. Let me look that up real quick. 2001 Chevy Lumina. Let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah, that's actually not a bad vehicle. Yes, I had some buddies that used to drive those in college. Yeah, the 2001 Chevy Lumina. I would pull it up on the screen, but I don't want to show that person's phone number there. I'm always keeping your privacy safe, guys. Don't worry about it. I'm thinking about you. You can text us just like that listener did at 573 319 1586. Again, that's 573 319 1586. Let's take a look and see what you guys are saying over in the live chat. Courtney Conover donated $5, says the left has been hilarious, acting like holding hostages away from the IDF, not handing them over is just existing and not deserving of death as though they're innocent. Thank you, Courtney. Yes. Some libertarians have a moral compass. Wes Fanning says, buyers be like, I want extra cheese on my Chevy. That's funny. He donated $2. So we're $17 towards our $60 goal in order to unlock today's bonus documentary. Do you guys think we're going to do it today? Are we going to hit that $60 goal? I hope so. I have Will Scharf here in about 10 minutes. So before we do, just a reminder, if you want to help unlock that documentary, we have always got some rockin' merch at apforlibertyshop.com. So exciting to hear about how the AP for Liberty Shop merch store is expanding now. We just took over a market in Texas and Mississippi. I'm thrilled to be able to offer you one of the best Liberty merch shops in the country. People have been contacting me for the last several weeks asking me about what the secret sauce is. And you know what it is? It's my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie. She does so much for it, including her new video, Hustling and Homemaking, coming out today. But what do I recommend for you today? It's almost the 4th of July, guys, and you want to get your awesome 4th of July stuff before the 4th of July so you can wear it on the 4th, right? So have you visited the 4th of July collection yet? If you haven't yet, what's wrong with you? Come on. I'm just here to bang shirts. You really think that if you show up to the 4th of July party with an I'm just here to bang, that you're not going to be the most popular guy there? Come on. Walk in, women will love you. Men will fear you. Everyone will want to be you. Where else can you get bomb pops earrings? Nowhere else are you going to find Gadsden snake earrings, ladies. Rosie the Riveter earrings. See these awesome swim trunks designed by me? You better get those orders in now because we want to get them to you so you can be rocking the 4th of July party right there. Just see George Washington in the background. Get those orders in today, ASAP. Head on over to ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. Get your 4th of July freak on. This is Thomas Jefferson doing a face palm, as you can see. That was him just watching what happened at the Libertarian National Convention in the last 2 weeks. Check out that 4th of July collection. The Ron Swanson history began on the 4th of July, 1776. Everything before that was a mistake. Shirts, yeah, that's a little pop-up so you can save some money. Of course, if you're a monthly subscriber, you get that anyway. Nowhere else can you find such an incredible combination of patriotic merchant. Where else are you going to get an eagle with a mullet, an American flag headband, especially for that price? I mean, come on. AP4libertyshop.com is the place to go. Put your vodka tonic in a Ben Drankin 20-ounce tumbler at AP4libertyshop.com. Nowhere else can you find such amazing patriotic merchandise. That's why everybody wants a piece of AP. Look at this cute little patriotic popsicle one-piece swimsuit. Thank you, Steffi. There you go. All right. Let's get the 1812 overture rocking. Can we turn the 1812 overture up? I kind of feel like I want to rock it right now. Hold on one second. Here we go. Ready? Need fireworks in the background. We'll be right back with Will Sharp to talk about Donald Trump's probation hearing meeting. Enjoy it. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Don't go away. Go shopping a little bit and then come right back. We'll be here with Will Sharp.
The Cantina Crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back. Get out out of my pocket and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
Thanks for sticking around on the Wake Up America show. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thanks for joining us live here this morning. But if you're listening to the audio version later, we're also glad to have you as well. We do upload the audio of the Wake Up America show each day to the podcast. So if you're on the go and you can't join us live, but you still want to hear what happened in the morning with the rest of the crew, then make sure that you download the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson on any of your mobile devices. You might have an Apple, which means you're going to need iTunes, or you might have an Android and you can download us through Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you get your podcasts. So download the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson so you can listen to us on the go. And if you are joining us live here this morning, I think you know that it's time to click that like button, isn't it? And if it's your first time here watching the Wake Up America show and you find yourself having a good time, do click the follow button as well. We are streaming live through Rumble Studio, and we've learned a lot about it in the last couple of weeks. It's been all kinds of exciting to see how they've been able to grow and fight for free speech, and we're thankful that they've given us this platform and an opportunity to be able to reach an audience member just like you. So if you've never seen or heard the Wake Up America show before today, and you really like what you're hearing and seeing, you'd like to join us for our regular schedule, make sure that you click that follow button so you can join us for the show schedule. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, the Wake Up America show streams live. We've got incredible content, incredible hosts, and of course, an incredible guest. Last week, I did a Zapruder-like investigation of an interview that was done by Missouri Attorney General candidate and Donald Trump lawyer Will Scharf. We went through bit by bit as George Stephanopoulos' head went back into the left. Joining us live right now is the man who done it. Was it from the grassy knoll, Will, or was it just like from the third floor of the book depository? Good morning, Will.
Morning, Austin. Great to be with you. And yeah, that Stephanopoulos interview was a lot of fun. It's always fun to trigger the libs. And George is an old Clinton hand who knows what he's doing. So I had a good time mixing it up with him.
Yeah, I think that the crux, the turning point of that interview, Will, was really when he was trying to get you to admit that the Biden administration had nothing to do with what was happening with the hush money trial in New York. And you plainly stated that there was a Biden administration Department of Justice official who disappeared from the DOJ one day and then just suddenly appears behind the prosecutor in New York. What's that story?
Yeah, so this has been the leftist line from the start, that these cases are totally above board. There's nothing political about them, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the evidence of coordination with the Biden administration is profound. You have Matthew Colangelo, who was the lead prosecutor in New York, used to be the acting associate attorney general. That's the number 3 official in the Biden Department of Justice. immediately after Joe Biden effectively launched this campaign of lawfare against President Trump with a speech on November 9th, Colangelo mysteriously quits his job at DOJ and then shows up a couple weeks later as an assistant district attorney in New York. I've said before, it's the equivalent of like a four-star general in the Army quitting his job and then enlisting as a private in the National Guard. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense unless the objective was kickstarting this case against President Trump, and unless the objective was essentially using lawfare to interfere with the 2024 election.
Another part of that interview that you did with Stephanopoulos that I found compelling was when he played a little game of whataboutism and tried to conflate the behavior of the Judge Merchan in that case with the behavior of Justice Alito by flying a patriotic appeal to heaven flag, which we offer at our store, by the way, as if, because you're demanding that Merchan should have recused himself because of his conflict of interest, which I'll let you explain. But then he tried to claim that Alito should have recused himself from a January 6th case because he flew a patriotic flag. What's the story on that one?
Yeah, first of all, you could tell that Stephanopoulos was getting off script because his questions started to make less and less sense as the interview went on, and I took particular pride in that. I'll say I had an appeal to heaven sticker on the back of my laptop every day through college and law school. The appeal to heaven flag, it's a beautiful statement derived from John Locke's second treatise, was obviously a key rallying cry in the early days of the American Revolution. So the idea that Justice Alito or his wife or whoever hung the flag did anything wrong is patently absurd to me. But yeah, Stephanopoulos tried to conflate very real financial conflicts of interest that Judge Merchan has with this case. The fact that his daughter is one of the leading Democrat fundraisers in the country, who is actively fundraising off of the Trump trial, the trial that her father is presiding over, and the fact that Merchan himself contributed money to Joe Biden in 2020, which he's not allowed to do as a judge, by the way. They tried to conflate that with, essentially totally anodyne political statements that Justice Alito's wife may have made, which was really a non sequitur. So I just kind of ignored that and went back to attacking George. And I think it worked well in that interview. So
executed nearly as flawlessly as that raid by the IDF on Hamas over last weekend. Well done there, George. You took no prisoners on the raid on ABC News. Let's talk about what's happening today, because what I'm reading here in the news is that there is an interview set for today where Trump will have to sit down on these 34 felony counts with a probation officer. What's this?
Yeah, so this is a pretty standard pre-sentence investigation in the federal system that, the federal probation office handles those. In the state system in New York, you have a New York probation officer who basically just will ask President Trump questions about himself, previous crimes, of which there are none, financial condition, family, just sort of kind of get to know you type questions. President Trump will be doing that remotely alongside one of his attorneys, Todd Blanche, who was lead trial counsel. It's really not that big a deal. I think the media became so used to having wall to wall to wall Trump trial news that now they're sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel for anything newsworthy from that Trump case. But yeah, we expect that to go well. Sentencing's obviously set for July 11th. And we'll be challenging this verdict on appeal. We're excited to get this case out of Judge Merchan's courtroom and hopefully into a courtroom where we can get a more fair shake, given the profound constitutional issues that this trial had. And we believe we have very strong grounds to get this judgment overturned on appeal.
I'm keeping an eye on the news on this one, Will, and I'm reading that the prosecutor Alvin Bragg is set to testify before the House of Representatives. What's that all about?
Yeah, he's been subpoenaed. A number of other people involved in this prosecution have been subpoenaed. There are a lot of Republicans on the Hill who are deeply concerned by what's going on here. I mean, in America, we're supposed to contest elections at the ballot box, and yet this election, the Democrats seem to have chosen lawfare as their desired tactic. I think Republicans have very real questions about how this zombie case, this case that had sat dormant for the better part of a decade, was suddenly revived right after President Trump announced that he was running for president again. And I think they have very real questions about the political influences that I believe suffused this case from the beginning.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Donald Trump attorney Will Scharf. Will is also a candidate here in the state of Missouri, where we filmed this show. He is running for attorney general here in the state of Missouri, and is doing a darn good job of it. He's made the rounds in national and local news as he seeks the vote of the people of Missouri to be our top prosecutor here. Hopefully not following in the vein of Alvin Bragg. But let's hear your take on this Trump immunity case, because the Supreme Court is going to be ruling on whether or not Donald Trump may have immunity in certain actions that he takes while he's president of the United States. I've spoken to Judge Andrew Napolitano on this show, and he's a pretty hardcore libertarian, and some of the things that he said about Donald Trump makes me think that sometimes he likes him, sometimes he doesn't. But even Judge Napolitano, as libertarian as he is, Will, says that, yeah, the president should probably have immunity in behavior that he takes in his official role as president of the United States. Do you expect that's how the Supreme Court will see it?
Yeah, so first of all, we expect a decision from the Supreme Court within the next couple of weeks. I think the two most likely dates for an opinion on this case, which was argued at the end of April, are actually this Thursday or next Thursday. So we're watching the wires closely. The basic argument that we've made is that for a president's official acts in office, we're not talking about private conduct, but for acts that a president makes as president, he can't be criminally prosecuted unless he's first impeached and convicted by the House and Senate. That's the constitutional design. That's the system we believe our framers set up. Otherwise, you end up in just an insane situation where the day a president leaves office, his political opponents can attempt to haul him into court and prosecute him for the contentious decisions that a president has to make in office. I think the founders were intent on avoiding exactly that sort of thing. They didn't want this endless cycle of political prosecutions and recriminations that I believe that we're going to get if the Supreme Court doesn't come down on our side here. At an oral argument, the Supreme Court seemed deeply concerned by the special counsel's office and what they were arguing, basically that any president is susceptible to criminal prosecution for anything that he does. I think certainly with respect to core Article 2 powers, when a president is sort of acting at the zenith of his power as president, we're talking about things there like orders given to the military or departments and agencies, personnel decisions, communications with Congress, et cetera. Certainly with respect to those sorts of acts, I think the court is likely to recognize some kind of immunity. So we feel very good about our prospects there. It's also worth noting that while the Supreme Court has been considering this, the D.C. prosecution brought by the special counsel's office, basically attempting to prosecute President Trump for his actions, seeking to investigate election fraud in the aftermath of the 2020 election, that prosecution is stayed. It has not moved. It won't move, which is a great thing for President Trump, because the judge there in D.C., Tanya Chutkan, seemed intent on really railroading us and ramming that case through to trial as quickly as possible on a political as opposed to a legal timeline. So we feel good about that case. We feel good about sort of where the Supreme Court's going to come down on it. And at least in the meantime, President Trump won't have to go through another political show trial like we saw play out in New York.
So we're hearing that the case in Georgia has been pushed to behind the November elections. I mean, we're sort of in a constitutional limbo when it comes to the sentencing for any of these. I mean, we don't know what will happen in the New York case. Hopefully your appeal will be successful. But if it isn't, if the justice system is like people like myself and others worry that it might be, then if they sentence him to any kind of a jail term, while he's president of the United States, the Supreme Court's probably going to have to hear something like that immediately, right?
I think we're looking to take this case as high as we can, as fast as we can. I think when you look at the appellate pathways that are available to us, when you look at potential collateral challenges or other actions we could bring, a lot of that will be dictated by what happens at sentencing. But we feel very good about our prospects. And I think that the chances that anything the judge does here meaningfully interferes with President Trump's ability to run for office is relatively slim. So we feel good about that case on appeal. We have numerous grounds to appeal that case, very strong grounds to get that trial verdict overturned. So we feel good. And as you said, I mean, when you look across the full scope of the campaign of lawfare being waged against President Trump, all of these different cases, we're winning on a lot of fronts. I mean, the Georgia case, which at one time looked threatening, that's going nowhere. I think the most likely option there, the most likely outcome there, is that Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA, is disqualified off of that case, at which point it becomes very unclear whether that case proceeds at all. So really up and down the line, we were facing the possibility of 4 separate criminal trials, all in the year 2024. Now the most likely outcome is that this New York trial, which was an outrage, will be the only trial that President Trump faces before Election Day. And I believe that if he's elected, really all of this just goes away.
We're speaking to Will Scharf. He is a Donald Trump attorney, but he's also a candidate for Attorney General here in the state of Missouri. Now, Will, we already have an Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, and he's running for office again. And a lot of people say he's a good conservative, he's a good prosecutor, he's a good Attorney General. Why are you primarying a sitting Republican in office?
Well, first of all, I think there's a big difference between elected and appointed incumbents. Mike Parson last year had his say. The people of Missouri are going to get their say this August. I think the key contrast in this election is between Jefferson City and the rest of us. When you look at sort of the special interests and the lobbyists that have controlled our state's capital for far too long, I think we need to break their control of Jefferson City. I think Andrew Bailey's on the other side of that. I think he's had severe conflicts of interest, many of the decisions that he's made since taking office. Basically, as soon as he got into office, he took money from illegal slot machine operators and then pulled his office out of pending litigation against them. He had a fundraiser hosted for him by a marijuana dealer under investigation by the state. When he was asked to investigate Pfizer over vaccine fraud, essentially, the way that Florida and Texas have, he declined to do so and then turned around and took money from Pfizer. I can go on and on and on in this way, but I think the conflicts of interest in that office today are profound. Probably more importantly, though, I think that office, while running a highly effective media operation, is running a far less effective legal operation. Andrew loves talking about suing Biden 30 times. That's sort of his stump speech. In actuality, when you look at all those cases, all of them essentially were either inherited from Eric Schmidt or they're cases that are brought by other states that Andrew's just sort of signed his name on the bottom of. There are 2 exceptions to that, which were basically cases that other states filed that Bailey then jumped in on the back end with his own lawsuits. In short, I think when you look at the history of that office, when you look at the way that it was run under both Josh Hawley and Eric Schmidt, they were both much more effective advocates for the people of Missouri. And we look forward to exposing all that in the 2 months ahead. And we think the people of Missouri are going to be able to see through the false narrative that's being peddled to them.
There we go. Will Scharf running for Attorney General here in the state of Missouri. We do film this show in Jefferson City, but we're not of Jefferson
You're one of
City.
those insiders, Austin. That's
Sure.
part of the problem.
Sure, I am. Well, speaking of insiders there, Donald Trump went to the Libertarian Party's national convention a couple of weeks ago, and he made some big promises to people who are of my ideological ilk. And some of those things I found to be quite compelling reasons to vote for Donald Trump. Now, of course, I'm a pledged delegate to the president for this election, so he already had my vote. But some of the things that he said, talking about putting people who believe what I believe on parole boards, putting someone potentially in for a cabinet level position to serve the United States, that's quite compelling. So I guess my question is Will, knowing that you're close to the president, was my name on the list of libertarians who might be considered for the cabinet level position?
I think you'd have to talk to the transition team about that, Austin. I don't know, but that speech was fascinating. It's so rare for a presidential candidate to speak before the convention of another party, a party that's not his own. And I think President Trump made a compelling case that if you're a libertarian, if you believe libertarian things, you're going to get much more bang for your buck, much more bang for your vote by voting for him than you would by voting for the Libertarian candidate. At one point, he said, look, basically, you can either vote for me or you can continue voting Libertarian and get your 3% every election cycle and keep losing. I mean, he made a lot of interesting promises, promised to pardon the founder of Silk Road. There was a lot of sort of red meat for the Libertarian gang there. So I think it was interesting as a historical matter that President Trump addressed the Libertarian Party. And I think with most of the folks there, it went over quite well.
Where can people learn more about your campaign for Attorney General here in Missouri, Will?
You can find our website at votesharf.com. You can find me on social media just at Will Scharf.
There you go, at Will Scharf. Hey, Will, thanks for getting up so early and thanks for fighting for freedom. We look forward to seeing more interviews where you take a bite out of the George Stephanopoulos types. Well done on that interview.
Appreciate it, Austin. Thanks for having me.
Let's give him a round of applause. That's Will Scharf.
This time, I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service, you take care of people, and I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things, too, if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be ended. And I announced that for the first time I've brought it up. First time anyone's brought it up. I think it's never been brought up before, and I also think it's very appropriate.
I also think it's very appropriate. I wonder if I could apply that to the Rumble rants and the YouTube super chats that you guys have done, which, by the way, in combination with the purchases that you've made at apforlibertyshop.com this morning, you have unlocked the bonus content. Mighty Megatron says, strippers for Trump. Yes, so. Strippers' votes count just as much as yours. If you're having fun this morning on the Wake Up America show, why don't you click that like button? And if it's your first time here, follow the channel as well. Rumble.com/AP4Liberty. We love hanging out with all of our new friends who have been joining us in the last couple of months. The Wake Up America show has just been growing by leaps and bounds. And we're thankful to have all of the new people who are here. Regulars know already to click that like button, but you might not. You might not know that you'll find us easier if you click that follow button. So that way, when tomorrow morning's show launches live, you'll get a notification. If you follow us on the Rumble app, make sure that you do so that you can join us for that regular schedule. Courtney Conover says that she delivers groceries and 75% of her income is tips. Boy, then that would be a compelling reason to vote for Donald Trump. I like the way Trump panders, because Trump says, I'm going to take the burden off of your back. Joe Biden says, I'm going to take the burden off of the student loans, and I'm going to put it over here on somebody else. I think that Donald Trump's approach is obviously the superior one, which of course is more libertarian for sure. Cutting taxes. Not just saying, oh, we're going to forgive these student loans, and then we're going to put the burden of paying for the student loans on for the blue-collar workers who didn't go to college and went and got a degree in, welding or doing something useful. They're the ones who have to pay for these white-collar kids so they can go have these trash TikTok jobs or what have you. So happy to see that President Donald Trump will be pushing to remove taxes on tips. Well, America is a service nation, and certainly I think that many people would be impacted by that. It would be a good thing for our country, a good thing for our economy. We're going to speak to Remzo Martinez here in about 10 minutes about John Fetterman's interview that he did with Bill Maher, where he talks about how he's no longer a progressive. But since you did unlock the bonus content, That means that for the rest of the show today, whenever we have to go to a commercial break for our guests so I can get them on the show, you'll be able to watch today's bonus content. So thank you for those Rumble rants. Doesn't mean stop sending them. You could still send Rumble rants and YouTube donations as well. Those tips will unfortunately be taxed until we get Donald Trump in the White House. But thank you very much for unlocking that content. You'll be able to see that before Remzo comes on live. But before Remzo gets here, let's go ahead and play that clip. No Mo Progressive, says John Fetterman. Take a listen.
You said, I'm not a progressive, I'm a Democrat. What does that mean? How do you, what is that distinction? Because I'm always, I don't think I've used the word progressive. I think I've said woke. I think there's a big difference between woke, and I know that word triggers a lot of people because it had a great beginning as a meaning, but words migrate, and it went to something else. I think there's a big difference between an old school liberal and a woke person. You say progressive Democrat. How do you describe this?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I've just say, and I've been saying that for years, actually. I said that, I didn't leave the label. It left me on that.
Right.
And that really, after it happened on October 7th, I was really knew that that whole progressive stack would be blasted apart, and there's not going to be any kind of way how the Democrats are going to be able to reply to that kind of, or respond to that kind of. And I really decided early on that I believed that was going to be the right side with Israel throughout all of that. And I knew that would going to be Democrats would continue to peel away and kind of walk away from standing with Israel on that. But that's where I decided after.
How do you explain that, if you can, that the people who consider themselves the most liberal have abandoned Israel, which was always a liberal darling, for the people who, a terrorist organization, the people who outwardly say they want a genocide, who outwardly are the one side of this who is against the two-state solution. Somehow they wound up with them. Why do you think that is? And will this split the Democratic Party?
Well, it does, because there's an appeal there, and I think you talk about that. Like last week, you really hit with the gender apartheid.
Yes.
And talking about a lot of these issues, and some of the most progressive and left parts of the Democratic Party are standing, for the kind of side that have. Kinds of organizations like Hamas or these kind of nations that there are no rights for women, and they certainly don't embrace the LGBTQ kinds of lifestyle. And even in Philadelphia, the Queers for Palestine blocked the Pride parade in Philadelphia, and I never saw that on the bingo card, but it's really true.
There you go. Sounds like my brother. So many people who have been left of center in recent years getting red-pilled about what woke really means. They can't stand with people like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, or AOC. Give it up to John Fetterman. Surprising. Do you think that Dr. Oz would have been as good or better than John Fetterman? Boy, that is kind of an interesting question. I wonder what your thoughts are. You can send me a text at 573-319-1586. The text lines are open at 573-319-1586. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that or any of the news of the day. Again, the text lines are 573-319-1586. Quest Fanning texted me and said, congrats to Will Sharp for that whooping he put on George Stephanopoulos. Amen. Another listener texted in this morning when we were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about vehicles and how people are avoiding buying new vehicles these days. And that listener texted in and said, I drove my grandpa's Chevy Silverado to him in a field, and I hate driving it. I prefer my Chevy Impala. Yeah, I'm riding an Ford F-150, 2012 Ford F-150 XLT. I'm going to drive that thing until the wheels fall off. I got no monthly payment, gets me where I need to go, can carry a bunch of stuff in it, has a little bit of room for the baby seat that's coming here real soon. Lots of reasons to stick with older vehicles than to buy newer ones, especially with all the privacy invading, to electronic surveillance that goes on. That maybe they're going to send that to your insurance company. They're going to sell that information to marketers. Maybe, and then of course they don't want you to use V8 engines anymore. I mean, I love my V8 engine because whenever I need to get around somebody who's slow poking it on a 2-lane highway, you gotta just like blast around them, and you don't want to be like, it's like my sweet wife, she's got the little Subaru that's the V6, and it's like you want to get around somebody who's like and you're lucky if you can get around them in time so you don't get smashed to bits by somebody coming in the opposing lane. But with my V8, right, you got that V8 engine, and it's just like, oh, I need to get around somebody. No problem. That's why those older vehicles are the toots. Luke Sacker says Ford F-150, baby. Yes, we like it. All right, so we're going to talk to Remzo Martinez here now in just a couple of minutes. Before we go, though, don't forget to visit AP for Liberty Shop.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
We sold it.
What?
We sold an Appeal to Heaven flag this morning, so get yours today at ap4libertyshop.com. AP for Liberty Shop, growing by leaps and bounds. We're capturing the patriotic merchandise superstore market share like it's going out of business. Some of you might not have heard, but AP for Liberty Shop is now the merchandise supplier for the Walton and Johnson radio show on the Gulf Coast of Texas. They're headquartered in Lake Jackson. Our shop is just, everybody wants a piece of it. Somebody else contacted me. They want a similar deal. I'll tell you about that one when the ink's dry on it as well. Boy, so many exciting things going on here on the Wake Up America show that you don't want to miss a single minute. Enjoy that bonus content now as we go to a not commercial break. We're going to a little mini documentary. Enjoy it. We'll be right back with Remzo Martinez to talk about progressives fleeing the label on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Continue the theme of political concepts that are changing the world. Today we consider the ratchet effect and the erosion of liberty. Justice Arthur Goldberg once remarked, "The Constitution is not a suicide pact." In times of crisis, governments often resort to extraordinary measures to protect their citizens and maintain order. However, this swift and decisive action can lead to an irreversible expansion of government power. This phenomenon is known as the ratchet effect. The ratchet effect gets its name from a mechanical device that allows motion in only one direction. Similarly, government power often advances but rarely retreats to previous levels. Robert Higgs popularized the ratchet effect theory in his book Crisis and Leviathan. It describes how governments use crises to enhance their powers through new policies, regulations, and laws. A prime example of the ratchet effect is the USA Patriot Act, enacted after the 9/11 attacks. It granted sweeping new powers to intelligence agencies, including secret searches and expanded definitions of terrorism. Despite the passage of 2 decades since 9/11, these provisions persist. This shows how emergency measures can become entrenched, normalizing extraordinary intrusions into privacy long after the initial crisis. The 2008 financial crisis led to rigorous regulatory frameworks on financial institutions. Though intended as temporary, these restrictions have proven durable, constraining economic growth and innovation. The COVID-19 pandemic has also highlighted the ratchet effect. Governments implemented controls like lockdowns, travel restrictions, and mask mandates. These measures, initially seen as temporary, risk becoming permanent. Each crisis creates opportunities for governments to consolidate their powers under the guise of protecting citizens. This comes at the cost of fundamental rights and freedoms. Looking ahead, the rapid advancement of AI and the intensifying calls for action on climate change could further amplify state control. Governments might feel pressured to exercise greater authority. AI's integration into society presents both opportunities and challenges. Heightened supervision could reinforce the ratchet effect, stifling innovation and economic progress. The climate change crisis is prompting drastic measures to curtail emissions. Emergency-driven actions risk becoming permanent, enlarging government influence beyond the initial response. In crises, government intervention may offer fleeting comfort but can empower the state at the expense of personal autonomy. This stifles innovation and burdens the economy with bureaucratic red tape. Market-driven solutions tap into human ingenuity, driving growth and improving lives. The free market has always been the engine of progress, lifting billions out of poverty. Individual liberty and property rights are moral imperatives and key drivers of economic success. When individuals pursue their passions without interference, they create value for everyone. To combat the ratchet effect, we must remain committed to classical liberalism principles, rejecting collectivist ideologies and embracing the free market's spontaneous order. By understanding the ratchet effect, designing precise crisis responses, and preserving core values, we can ensure a balance between public safety and personal autonomy. This vigilance helps build resilient, prosperous societies.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. I hope you enjoyed that bonus content that you all unlocked. The ratchet effect, where government tends to grow and never gets any smaller. It's kind of like that, was it a fake Thomas Jefferson quote where he said the tendency of government is to grow and liberty is to shrink? So he had an inkling of the ratchet effect that many modern economists have been writing about in recent years. So let's talk about it a little bit later. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. So how do you undo the ratchet effect? Well, you need smaller government. You need to pull a Javier Milei and go all afuera on the government bureaucracies. Do we have a Javier Milei here in the United States? Doesn't look like we've got one coming anytime soon, but I will take the cut on taxes on tips. So send them in here. Rumble rants, YouTube super chats. When Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, no taxes on those tips. You love to see it. I am but a humble meme merchant. And so is my next guest, Remzo Martinez. He's going to comment a little bit about Senator John Fetterman sounding so much more, I don't know, honest. I mean, even maybe a little conservative. Let's hear from Remzo Martinez from AMP America joining us live. What's up, Remzo?
Oh, boy, Austin. If you told me that we would be talking about having to protect this man at all cost a couple years ago, I think we were all sharing Hunter Biden's crack pipe. But it only took a little bit of restoring this man's cognitive brain function for him to look around and ask himself, why am I surrounded by all these stupid people?
Remzo, October 7th was what he said was a big wake-up call, but Senator John Fetterman has been kind of like running away from the progressive left now since it seems, since he recovered from his injury and his depression.
Yeah, the joke used to be for his first year in office that his staffers were doing all of his actual policy writing and that his wife was really the shadow senator of Pennsylvania. He must have gotten to the point where when he cured his whatever was actually causing him to hear, like, the adults from Peanuts, according to the Washington Post, that wah, 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 wah. As soon as he heard the, trans the children, tax everybody, forget Israel, he was probably just like, what is wrong with these people reading this stuff, listening to them? He's like, I don't want to be around them. I forget who said it, but it was during that 2022 midterm election when he was running against Dr. Oz. It was very funny because you had like a real rich doctor versus a guy who dressed like a truck driver but was really a trust fund kid. And largely, while there were accusations of stuff being weird in Philadelphia with the ballots, like there's always an accusation every election cycle, large enough people were looking at this and saying, you know what, like, I don't feel like he's patronizing me. I feel like even though he's not all there, he's a regular guy. And that schism between is he a regular guy or is he just a rich guy trying to, be like Mitt Romney and roll up his sleeves and put his dog on the top of his car, whether people can see that or not. And I think right now what we're seeing is perhaps the true John Fetterman. Now, had he not been saying these things, had he not started changing his stances on stuff, we'd still be calling him Frankenstein and asking for people to bring him home because, frankly, this is abuse of the handicapped. But he's putting coherent sentences together. And, his staffers have quit. His wife has mysteriously disappeared. And now he's actually starting to sound like a regular person from 10 years ago. I mean, that's how I'm describing what people are considering like, the coherent and common sense left. It's not that they became conservative. It's just that they've gone back to where they were 10 years ago, a perfect state of homeostasis, if you will. So while he still kind of looks like Frankenstein, you know what? He's our Frankenstein right now. He belongs to us now.
That's Remzo Martinez.
You get to come home with us, man.
We're speaking of Remzo Martinez right now. Yeah, but Bill Maher, same thing. Right? I mean, Bill Maher is saying a lot of the same things where he feels like he hasn't really changed much at all in the last 10 years. But I mean, to me now, he sounds very conservative in a lot of the things he says. He still has Trump derangement syndrome, like the left, which I kind of think might be just kind of like a cope so that he isn't completely ostracized from Hollywood, because that's who his culture is, and it's really hard to like completely leave your tribe. But when it comes to Fetterman, in that interview, they talk about how he's just like he's talking as if he's no longer a politician, like he's a normal person, and it's good to see it. But I mean, there's a phenomenon happening there that's more than just John Fetterman. Wouldn't you agree?
It is. Tulsi Gabbard went ahead and came to Wisconsin recently for a local GOP Lincoln Day event outside of Madison. So I got to see her Friday. And I mean, the things that she is saying, which is like, the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment. Men can't be women. You can't put people with different genitals in the same locker room. Women's sports needs to be protected. Free speech is actually a good thing. I would not call these inherently conservative beliefs. It's just that the left has dragged us so far to the left that, Charlie Kirk has a book out called The Right Wing Revolution, and people were panicking about that. And all he was saying was, no, I don't want America to become some like super uber right wing country. I just want us to kind of get back to the regular middle where people can have differences, where people can think differently, and we can have discussions, but we have, a united front on common truths. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for common sense at this point.
Yeah, and when Fetterman says that October 7th was the catalyst for what really set him off, suggesting that he no longer identifies as a progressive, I mean, I think that he sort of reflects the broader trend of how the conflict between Israel and Gaza has just ripped a chasm-wide hole between the left, between the more traditional Democrats who were ostensibly pro-Israel, and the rabidly anti-Semitic, anti-Israel left that has emerged in recent years.
Even beyond that, I mean, Joe Manchin from West Virginia recently said that he's out. He's done with all of this. So it almost appears like Fetterman is filling that like middle of the road swing Democrat role that Manchin held on to for so long. Kind of like how Marco Rubio took over the UFO train after Harry Reid left. It seems like, power of whore is a vacuum and somebody's filling it. I could very easily see Fetterman being attacked during his next reelection by his own party, people within his primary going against the same propaganda that they were the ones pushing largely, which is the man has brain damage. He's deaf. He's retarded, if you could say that word. He's all these things. And meanwhile, we're all just like, we were saying that before it was cool. And now that he's finally making some sense, now you want to go ahead and pull out the truth card? They'll do to him what they did with Kirsten Sinema from Arizona. And I think if Trump is able to come back next year, I think he has a potential friend in Fetterman.
Well, I don't know much about nature, Remzo, but if you're talking whores and vacuums, you'll have to talk about it on another show. Good morning. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson, and we're glad to have you here. It's nice to see that we made Rumble's front page a few minutes ago. What's up, Rumblers? How you doing? It's me, AP. Is this your first time here watching the show? If so, we'd love to have you join us for the regular schedule, Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show streams live. It's a 2-hour tour de force of economic freedom and personal liberty. We're always talking about what's happening in the news, and we're also having a lot of fun, too. It's a great way to start your day. So while you click that follow button, maybe give us a like as well if you enjoy it, and come back and join us for the regular schedule. Remzo Martinez from ampamerica.com is joining me to talk about the schism in the Democratic Party that no longer progressive, John Fetterman and Tulsi Gabbard and others have started to sort of abandon the squealing, crying, whining, psychotic left. And just calling, well, progressives, I mean, no longer a progressive. John Fetterman says he's just a Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party. Now, when I hear the name Tulsi Gabbard, my heart aches a little bit, not just because she's so luscious, but because she was supposed to be on that list of VP candidates, but I didn't see her name listed on the VP candidates. I was kind of sad about that, Remzo. But, some people have said that there's still a chance that we might get an outsider like a Tulsi or a Vivek Ramaswamy. God, wouldn't it be nice? But I don't know if I could stomach many of these other candidates that they pushed on the VP list. What was your take on them, Remzo?
Rule number one of power in Robert Greene's 49 Rules of Power is do not upstage the master. And I was never, while I would love to see Vivek as the VP, I was never really holding my breath. And same goes for Tulsi. You have two very alpha types who can stand on their own, who have dedicated followings, who can really capture people with their logic and their charm. And you honestly think that Donald Trump is going to take one of those people? I think he, at the end of the day, the VP pick is always the establishment, kind of balance countering act. For every Reagan, we had to have a George H.W. Bush, and so on and so on. So I think it's my money right now is on a former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. I think that is where everything is leaning. We're already seeing that in terms of him going on the campaign trail. That's where all the money is. Am I happy with a lot of the stuff that he did? I'm kind of mixed. I think he gets the benefit of being a Midwest governor who didn't step into too many things that were controversial nationally. So I think, he knows enough to be smart and to look good in a couple VP debate clips, but he's smart enough to know to be quiet when it comes to Donald Trump. While we're not looking for a Pence, we're kind of looking for a Pence, or at least a Pence type. Yeah. As long as it's not Haley, then I think that throws everything out the window.
No, God, no. Okay. Well, yes, you're right. Yes. Anyone but Haley at this point.
Did I say Voldemort? It seems that way.
You shall not say his name. It's funny that you bring up that law of power. I was doing a second watch through of the Sopranos recently, and there's this scene where they talk about they may mention it in that Robert Greene book. I haven't read the laws of power. I've read the laws of war. But in that Sopranos episode, they talk about the story of the Sun King, Louis XIV, prior to the French Revolution, where he had like a courtier who was always upstaging the king. And one day he built this palace that outmatched Versailles, and then invited the king as his honored guest to him. And like the next day he got clapped in irons. So that, I actually have learned that lesson in my life where I, realized that you've got to be careful when you're working for someone not to upstage them because they will undermine you because they're afraid that you're going to undermine them. So Laws of Power by Robert Greene, definitely a book that I need to get on my book list. And I'm glad that you brought it up. It makes perfect sense in regards to the VP pick. But there are a couple of names on there that I think would be compelling. Byron Donalds, but maybe he's a little bit too much of a superstar there for some extent, but maybe not too much. He's not establishment, but he was on that list. So there might at least be a little bit of hope for us to have someone in there. But what I would like you to speak on, Remzo, is the question of the libertarians in the cabinet. I just got off an interview with Donald Trump's lawyer, Will Scharf, and I asked him, if I was on the short list of the people for the cabinet level position, which he couldn't reveal. He said I needed to speak to the transition team, but obviously a joke. And yet, in terms of jokes, the amount of libertarians that I could think of that could actually make it through Senate confirmation hearings enough to take a high-level position with any kind of institutional knowledge, who could actually sit down and take the withering, blistering critiques from a Senate confirmation hearing, not just from a Democrat, but do you think a Republican's just going to let a libertarian fly through to a top spot like that? Who do we have on a short list, Remzo, that could actually sit and serve the American people in a position that they hate, that they don't think should exist, but then they could actually do a good job of it if they had to oversee the ATF or what have you? Who do we have, Remzo?
Well, I would say that, because the Democrats will obviously bring up court stacking at some point. I'm surprised no one's bringing it up yet. If I were president, let's put me in this hypothetical situation. If I were Trump, if I'm able to do that, Randy Barnett for Supreme Court. Randy Barnett from Georgetown Law from Supreme Court. That's such a easy answer. Yeah. And I would take it a step further. Everyone is looking at the the higher level cabinet positions. I'm thinking, what do we have to do to push the Overton window even farther? I'm looking at the Office of Personnel Development. How do we actually downsize the federal workforce? We need somebody that knows how to run a business. We need somebody that knows how to actually look at numbers and cut costs. I would say that for the director of OPM, you'd want somebody like a Cliff Maloney Jr. Somebody that can cut that immediately. Dan Devine, under the Reagan administration, went ahead and cut the federal workforce in half. He asked Reagan, he's like, why do you want a civil libertarian like myself in charge of OPM, in charge of all these federal employees? And Reagan said, because I know you'll cut it and everyone else wants to grow it. And he took it and he did that. So I think you want somebody like that. I think if you were to bring in somebody like your friend Judge Napolitano, I think they're going to have a harder time going through stuff like that. But you need people that can kind of speak the DC bullshit. You need somebody that can actually go through that. I think that Jeff Deist from the Mises Institute, he's also had congressional experience, having worked, under former Congressman Ron Paul's wings when he was actually doing that. So I would go ahead and throw him into like Treasury or something like that. I think what people have to consider is not just who would do the best job. It's, as you pointed out, who can survive the slings and arrows, who can look at a Brett Kavanaugh situation and not think about something they did like 20 years ago, or, maybe they made a joke about something. You need somebody with tough skin who's going to fight back, who's willing to say, I can get through this and I won't quit.
People in the chat are saying Tucker for press secretary, just as the live viewers went to 666, which I think is a little bit odd. Remzo Martinez joining us live from AMP America this morning. Remzo, this was a good conversation, but is there anything in the news that caught your eye that you think that we missed, or anything that you'd like to say before we let you go, my friend?
I am intensely worried that we're going to start seeing more arrests between now and July 11th. I think that them going after Trump, I think that them going after Steve Bannon, or just some of the higher profile people. You've got the Jenna Ellises of the world who are willing to Judas their way out of everything. I think that we're going to get some surprises. Everyone is talking the October surprise. I think the plan of the establishment, the plan of the deep state, is to really go after the convention next month in my town of Milwaukee. So I expect there to be some high profile arrests. I believe that we're going to get a very severe summer surprise, because ultimately what they want to do is they want to show a fractured Republican Party. I think the controlled opposition in the GOP is going to fall for that. And I think it's going to get really nasty. So that's just an observation I have. That's a gut feeling I have. I think people should watch out for that. It's not just Bannon and Trump. They're moving closer to you people.
There it is, Remzo Martinez. Where can we follow you online, Remzo?
Make it simple. Follow me on X at HEYRAMSO. That's Hey Remzo, and everything you want, awesome, and more at AMP America News, ampamerica.com.
There we go. I'll have a piece for you fresh and ready this week, Remzo. Thanks so much for your time and getting up early. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Remzo Martinez.
Hi, guys. Ricky G here, wellness and beauty influencer. As a celebrity, I know all about stuff, like science and politics. So trust me when I tell you who you should vote for. If you don't vote the right way, that's like a hate crime. It makes me sad and angry, and I'll leave the country. And you don't want
that. Oh, thank you, Ricky Gervais, for being so funny. What other talk shows in the morning are you going to get great interviews like that, followed by that kind of funny? Only the Wake Up America show. Only the Wake Up America show. Can you have that much fun? We love hanging out with you guys in the morning. Make sure that you click that like button and follow if it's your first time here tuning into the Wake Up America show. The follow button is your friend. Come back and join us on that regular schedule every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. All right, check out allfamilypharma.com/rumble for all of your ivermectin needs. Their ivermectin is made in the good old USA, baby. They get you the prescription and medication shipped within 48 hours. Use the coupon code RUMBLE15 for 15% off. That's right. Check out our friends over at allfamilypharma.com/rumble. So all as in ALL, family as in you and me, pharma, PHARMA, allfamilypharma.com/rumble, allfamilypharma.com. You can see there is a link to it as well in the chat, and there should be a QR code popping up there as well. So get your ivermectin at allfamilypharma.com/rumble and use that coupon code rumble15 for 15% off. Thank you very much, Rumble, for that live read. You love it. You know you like it. You love it. You want some more of it. The Wake Up America show is your place for economic freedom and personal liberty, but your voice can't be heard unless you send us a text and let us know what's happening in your mind, from your mind to mine, through text messages. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Again, the text lines are open, and you can text me anytime, night or day, at 573-319-1586. All right, I'm going to play the bonus content for you again one more time. When we get back, what shall we talk about? Israeli special forces rescue 4 hostages in raids on 2 Hamas locations. I'll got a couple of video clips from the raid that I will be able to show and play for you, as well as some incredible footage showing a Florida sniper shooting through a hostage-holding bank robber through a computer monitor. Man, that's what a .308 caliber does. We'll be right back.
Continue the theme of political concepts that are changing the world. Today we consider the ratchet effect and the erosion of liberty. Justice Arthur Goldberg once remarked, "The Constitution is not a suicide pact." In times of crisis, governments often resort to extraordinary measures to protect their citizens and maintain order. However, this swift and decisive action can lead to an irreversible expansion of government power. This phenomenon is known as the ratchet effect. The ratchet effect gets its name from a mechanical device that allows motion in only one direction. Similarly, government power often advances but rarely retreats to previous levels. Robert Higgs popularized the ratchet effect theory in his book Crisis and Leviathan. It describes how governments use crises to enhance their powers through new policies, regulations, and laws. A prime example of the ratchet effect is the USA Patriot Act, enacted after the 9/11 attacks. It granted sweeping new powers to intelligence agencies, including secret searches and expanded definitions of terrorism. Despite the passage of 2 decades since 9/11, these provisions persist. This shows how emergency measures can become entrenched, normalizing extraordinary intrusions into privacy long after the initial crisis. The 2008 financial crisis led to rigorous regulatory frameworks on financial institutions. Though intended as temporary, these restrictions have proven durable, constraining economic growth and innovation. The COVID-19 pandemic has also highlighted the ratchet effect. Governments implemented controls like lockdowns, travel restrictions, and mask mandates. These measures, initially seen as temporary, risk becoming permanent. Each crisis creates opportunities for governments to consolidate their powers under the guise of protecting citizens. This comes at the cost of fundamental rights and freedoms. Looking ahead, the rapid advancement of AI and the intensifying calls for action on climate change could further amplify state control. Governments might feel pressured to exercise greater authority. AI's integration into society presents both opportunities and challenges. Heightened supervision could reinforce the ratchet effect, stifling innovation and economic progress. The climate change crisis is prompting drastic measures to curtail emissions. Emergency-driven actions risk becoming permanent, enlarging government influence beyond the initial response. In crises, government intervention may offer fleeting comfort but can empower the state at the expense of personal autonomy. This stifles innovation and burdens the economy with bureaucratic red tape. Market-driven solutions tap into human ingenuity, driving growth and improving lives. The free market has always been the engine of progress, lifting billions out of poverty. Individual liberty and property rights are moral imperatives and key drivers of economic success. When individuals pursue their passions without interference, they create value for everyone. To combat the ratchet effect, we must remain committed to classical liberalism principles, rejecting collectivist ideologies and embracing the free market's spontaneous order. By understanding the ratchet effect, designing precise crisis responses, and preserving core values, we can ensure a balance between public safety and personal autonomy. This vigilance helps build resilient, prosperous societies.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed that bonus content. That little mini documentary that you just watched is one of many bonus content documentaries that I have been producing for the last 2.5 months. The Wake Up America show has been producing a 5-minute mini documentary for our listeners and viewers just like yourself to be able to watch if we fundraise enough by the end of the show. So since you got to watch it, it means that people went to apforlibertyshop.com or they made Rumble Rant donations or YouTube Super Chats. Thank you to everybody who contributed this morning. It helps us to grow. The show is growing like leaps and bounds, and I love seeing whenever Rumble puts us on the front page, we get to make so many new friends. 809 people joining us live at rumble.com today. Hi, guys. I'm really glad and thankful for the opportunity to meet you today, and I hope that we get to be friends in the future. So if you click that follow button, then you can hang out with us live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show's schedule. Again, Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central. And I know we've got some friends over on YouTube as well, like Dash says, do the history books show the archives of newspapers? Was there such a twisting of truth to defend Nixon to stay in office by the politicians back in his day? That's an interesting question, Dash. Is your name Dash as in Dash Rendar? Anybody get the reference there? What is that reference from there, Dash? 608 people joining us live over on X.com as well. Yes. We'd love to see it. Bum, 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 bum. Incredible video showing a hostage situation at a bank in Florida. This is unbelievable. You love seeing stuff like this where the good guys win and the bad guys die. Yes. Mongoose 87 and L-Dub 78, as well as GF Johnson. They got the Star Wars reference. Oh, yeah. Star Wars nerds for Donald Trump. Now they've all gone woke, and you hate to see it. But the old Star Wars was great. Check out this video. Hostage situation at a bank in Florida. Pretty wild footage. I'll get the story up here real quick so I can play it and talk about it at the same time.
Office releasing new video from a deadly hostage situation at a Bank of America in South Fort Myers back in February.
Go, go, go. Bad boys, bad boys.
An edited version of the video was posted on Facebook this weekend and showed the moment that special operations officers stormed into the bank to rescue the two people who were being held hostage. The robber had positioned the hostages in front of him, but a police sniper was able to get that shot and kill the suspect. They say that he had a knife and claimed to have a bomb during the robbery back in February. The department says it was an unfortunate incident, but they are proud of the law enforcement members' actions.
Nice shooting, soldier. Wait, what's that? Nice shooting, soldier. What is that movie? Oh, it was a Nice Shooting Soldier. It was that end scene from How I Learned Strange Love. Remember that scene, Dr. Strange Love, at the very end? Well, here we go. Yes, Mandrake. Hold on, and Ripper. No, not this scene. That's the one where he talks about life-giving water communists. Hold on. I know they're going to pull my stream for this one. But there's a scene at the end where like he's getting shot at. Base attack scene. Oh, here we go. Yes. Yeah, there we go. Dr. River. Anyways, Dr. Strangelove, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's definitely going to get my YouTube video pulled this morning. Nice shooting, soldier. Have you ever seen a communist drink water, Mandrake? Vodka. That's what they drink, right? My precious bodily fluids. If you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, great film. It's the one with the scene where the guy rides the bomb all the way down. He's on the airplane and he gets on the nuke and the bomb won't go down, so he rides it like a cowboy. Great film, great film. Yeah, that was incredible footage, right? So it was the moment that a sniper shot through a computer. So the bullet that the sniper shot through the desktop computer and between two hostages right, before it fatally shot the subject. So you had the hostage on the left, the hostage on the right, the computer right in front of you, and then the bad guy was behind the computer. This is a 36-year-old guy trying to rob a Fort Myers Bank of America. Took two people hostage inside the bank. Suspect said he had a bomb on him. He crouched behind the hostages, used them as a human shield. A negotiator tried to get him surrender, but the robber suddenly threw one of the hostages into a headlock and held a knife to her throat, prompting the officers to say, oh, well, that's going to give us a little bit of target practice today. So they actually showed some of the footage that was uncensored, but you'll have to view it somewhere else because the video gets taken down when you show that kind of stuff. And the sniper had steadied his rifle on the shoulder of another officer. Those are some old school tactics. And the negotiator's like, keep talking to me. Keep talking to me. I want to know what's going through your head right now, other than the 308 bullet that's about to penetrate. Just happen impurity, our precious bodily fluids. Keep talking to me. I want to know what's going through your head right now. Moments later, the sniper pulled the trigger and the shot rang out. The bullet pierced through the computer monitor, left a hole, then struck the robber, who was hunkered down between the two hostages. And then the video shows the suspect crumbling to the floor as the hostages scatter for cover. Officers then tossed in flash grenades as they checked out that the suspect was incapacitated and that the hostages were safe. Lieutenant Todd Ulmer of the sheriff's office says shooting positions like these are trained regularly by snipers for time-critical incidents like these. Due to the suspect's limited exposure, the sniper took a planned and deliberate shot through a computer monitor, striking the suspect in the center of the forehead right there, killing him instantly. Well done. Well done. Huzzah. Huzzah. You love to see it. Firing through barriers is a trained and routinely practiced skill by the Lee County Sheriff's Office Special Operations Unit snipers. The .308 caliber bullet is specifically selected due to its known ballistic reliability traveling through intermediate barriers. There you go, guys. Another good reason for yourselves to buy those old World War II rifles like I like to collect. Love my M1 Garand. 8-round clip. Chunk, 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 ping. You love the M1 Garand. Fires a .308. If it was good enough for my grandpa to kill a whole hell of a lot of Nazis, then it's good enough for me. Don't you love to see it? Speaking of love to see it, over the weekend, the great news that Israeli special forces rescued 4 hostages in raids on 2 Hamas locations. 4 Israeli hostages who had been abducted by Hamas terrorists from the Supernova Musical Festival on October 7th were rescued by the Israeli Defensive Forces on Saturday morning. Israeli special forces on the ground were supported by airstrikes as they raided 2 Hamas locations in central Gaza, rescuing Israelis at one location and finding the 4th hostage at the second location. The video that I'm about to show you on the screen is footage from inside of the helicopter. This is Noah Argamani, who was rescued from the Gaza Strip. So this is the footage from inside the helicopter showing when she hops in and then was returned home to Israel after the IDF and the ISA rescue operation was successfully conducted in the heart of Nuseirat in the Gaza Strip. Take a look at this. You can see her hopping on board the rescue vehicle. There she is. Poor girl. Right there. They don't show footage from the actual raid itself, obviously, but here you can see the young lady hopping on board the helicopter. There she is, safe and sound. Special forces hopping in behind her, closing the door, and off she goes home. You love to see it. Love to see it. Here's a video of another angle from above here. This is the morning raid that was on Saturday, the joint IDF and Israeli police raid. Noah Orgamani, Almog Meir, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv were kidnapped by the Hamas terrorist organizations from their festival on October 7th. Here we see here. And by the way, they are in good medical condition, so good news. Security forces are going to continue to try and bring the rest of those hostages home. Some of them are Americans. Take a look here. You can see this is an overhead view of them spiriting the hostages away to that tactical helicopter. Isn't that helicopter badass? Look at that sucker. Damn, dude. This looks kind of like the one that went and got Osama bin Laden. Check that out with those right there taking off. Sick. just like Call of Duty, right? The takeoff of the helicopter. There we go. So here they've got the hostages there, rushing them off to the helicopter. Dude, this makes me want to play Call of Duty Black Ops. You know what I'm saying? Well, Fuchs says now if we could just let the IDF finish off Hamas, that would be great. You know, that would be fantastic. But then, you know, what would Ilhan Omar bitch and whine about? No, God! The leftists be like, no! Or the libertarians as well. They are all in good condition. That's great news. They're all back home in Israel. This is the most successful hostage rescue operation for the IDF since Hamas captured 250 people from that October 7th attack. So this has been the most successful raid that they've been able to conduct since this went down. In February, the IDF rescued 2 Israeli hostages who were being held by Hamas in Rafah, and this rescue operation had been planned for weeks. And Israeli forces had been under fire from Hamas while in the buildings and on their way out of Gaza with the hostages, and they did take casualties. Someone unfortunately was killed in this raid. Now, the IDF is going to continue these kinds of operations to try and rescue the still 120 hostages who remain in Gaza, men, women, and children. The IDF spokesman, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, gave a statement after the successful rescue operation on Saturday. This is what he had to say. Take a listen.
At 11 a.m., Israeli Special Forces conducted complex hostage rescue mission and successfully rescued 4 of our hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza. Noar Gamani, Almog Meir Jan, Shlomi Ziv, and Andrei Kozlov. They are back home in Israel. They are alive. They are well. They will undergo medical examination and will soon be reunited with their families in the hospital. Noah, Almog, Andrei, and Shlomi were rescued after 246 days in Hamas captivity after they were brutally kidnapped from the Nova Musical Festival on the 7th of October. This was a high-risk complex mission based on precise intelligence conducted in daylight in 2 separate buildings deep inside Gaza.
That's why these operations need to continue. Did you read the story about the reporter who was connected to Al Jazeera, that Qatari outfit that spouts pro-Palestinian propaganda on the regular? Israel is now demanding answers from Al Jazeera why one of the Hamas terrorists who was holding the hostages allegedly worked as a reporter there. The IDF accused Al Jazeera of employing a Hamas terrorist whose family held 3 of the hostages that were freed on this Saturday IDF raid. The IDF killed the Al Jazeera reporter, Abdallah al-Jamal, during that dramatic rescue operation on Saturday. The IDF wrote on the X platform, formerly Twitter, journalist Abdallah al-Jamal was a Hamas terrorist holding Almog, Andrei, and Shlomi hostage in his family's home in Nuseirat. No press vest can make him innocent of the crimes he committed. Al Jazeera, what's this terrorist doing on your website? Good find there, IDF. I have long argued that Al Jazeera is a front for terrorist news organizations out there. And now with the revelations that this reporter was working for Al Jazeera, it's definitely confirmed my suspicions. We do have Al Jazeera outlets here in the United States as well. And there are, of course, known terror cells operating within the United States. And if you think that those terror cell networks don't have their own press operations doing PR here in the United States, I've got some bridge stock to sell you from the Tuscumbia Bridge Company of mid-Missouri right here in Jefferson City. FYI, the bridge no longer exists. Here we are. This is a picture of the reporter, and they are listed on the Al Jazeera. Now he's dead. Good for you. Well done, IDF. Abdallah al-Jamal, listed on the Al Jazeera website, Gaza-based reporter and photojournalist for Al Jazeera. He often reports from the ongoing March of Return protests at the fence separating besieged Gaza from Israel. Oh, sad. Poor besieged Gaza.
How dare you?
How sad. They're besieged, are they? Well, release the hostages, and I'm sure the siege will lift. Here's IDF posting their tweet. The quote-unquote journalist, Abdallah al-Jamal, confirmed Hamas terrorist, holding the hostages in his home in Nuseirat. Well, if you want to know where the rest of the hostages might be, maybe take a look at some of the rest of the reporters for Al Jazeera as well. Now, these people do have press outlets here in the United States. I can tell you that they do operate in Washington, D.C. I've quite frequently been around these circles as someone who's operated in the mainstream media for a number of years before I switched to, I've gone back and forth between alternative and mainstream media organizations and outlets. I can tell you that hostile foreign powers do operate PR outlets here in the United States, and they do so for the explicit purpose not only of brainwashing Americans as to what's happening overseas, but they conduct operations here as well for their intelligence agencies, which is not to say that the United States State Department doesn't do similar things overseas, but it does lead one to question whether or not somebody should be able to have the sort of credentials that go along with being a member of the press when you are openly hiring committed terrorists like this Abdallah al-Jamal. I mean, these are not people who deserve press credentials in my mind. These are state actors. So Al Jazeera, here's a good question for the chat here. Let me open this up. Let's see. Al Jazeera. Now they're supposed to have Al Jazeera is supposed to have state affiliated media on them if they are listed here on X.com. There's supposed to be a warning logo. I'm looking at Al Jazeera English. Look at this, 8.8 million followers there. Al Jazeera's footage of the war on Gaza here. Look at this. None of this. There's their gold symbol. It's because it's an official organization on X. In my opinion, this should be labeled state affiliated media because it's related to the establishment of Qatar, state establishment. What are your thoughts on this? I'd love to hear them, pro or con. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Courtney Conover says, meanwhile, the press is like, oh my God, they're murdering journalists. It's not murder when you're holding hostages, right? As you and I well know, Courtney, I always appreciate your feedback. It's nice to see 1,000 people joining us live at rumble.com. Good morning to you. Whenever we get a massive influx of new viewers that are watching the Wake Up America show, like yourself, I imagine many of you watching us for the very first time, it's always difficult to convert a new viewer or a new listener to a regular viewer or a regular listener. I know that tomorrow morning that if we don't get featured on the front page of rumble.com, we'll still have our 200 or 300 live viewers. But for many of you who are watching us now, we might be lucky to get you to click that follow button right now so that you can get an update when we do go live and you become a regular viewer or a regular guest, a regular hangout person on the Wake Up America show. Now, why should you click the follow button on the Wake Up America show? Well, many of you might just be tuning in now live for the first time and you didn't get to see the rest of the show. The show streams live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. At 7:30 a.m. this morning, I had on Donald Trump's attorney, Will Scharf. He's also a fellow Missourian like myself. We stream this show from Jefferson City, the heart of Missouri, our capital. But we had a terrific interview where he went through all of the criminal proceedings against Donald Trump, as well as the Supreme Court case questioning immunity for the president. And he gave a thorough and detailed background of where that's at. So if you want to stay abreast of what's happening in current affairs, the Wake Up America show gives you some of the best up-to-minute, up-to-date news topics with some of the best guests that are out there, the most highly relevant guests that you're going to find in the news industry from a perspective of someone like myself who is a freedom-loving libertarian Republican. So if you love that kind of, and if you like to stay abreast of the news, but you also like to have a little bit of fun in the mornings as well, keep things light, keep things energetic, get you woken up, you're in the right place. So why don't you click that follow button so that you can get those kinds of interviews? And of course, our friend Remzo Martinez, who was here at 8 a.m., wasn't he great? He's always very funny and relevant as well. You're going to get the big news. You're going to get the big guests. You're going to get the big funny as well. It's the Wake Up America show, a 2-hour tour de force of economic freedom and personal liberty. The Wake Up America show is a great place to hang out, make friends in the chat, and join the revolution. The revolution continues here on the Wake Up America show. Our friends over at Preserve Gold wanted me to remind you that there's a reason why central banks have been stacking coins. Central banks have been buying up gold bars and coins like it's going out of style, but it's not going out of style, is it? The price of gold continues to rise because of the behavior of central banks who think that they know something that you don't. And that's why precious metals are a good investment, why it's important to look after your financial future. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to get rich because you invest in gold. No, you're going to stay rich because you invest in gold. It's going to be a cornerstone of your portfolio. It's been around for thousands of years. It has maintained its value. The only thing that could bring down the value of gold, I think, at this point, is if an asteroid made of gold were to hit the United States, in which case we'd all be wiped out anyway. So why don't you call or actually text my friends over at Preserve Gold the word liberty to 50505. That's liberty to 50505. And when you do, they're going to send you a free gold and silver information packet. All you got to do is read the packet to find out the best ways to invest in gold and silver. They're not going to spam you. They're not going to, email the crap out of you. They're just going to send you a gold and silver information packet and then follow up with you once. So support the show, support the ideas of economic freedom, support your own economic future by texting the word liberty to 50505 and find out more about how to invest in gold and silver and secure your financial future. Be smart. Do what the central banks do. Just because we want to end the Fed doesn't mean that we think that they're stupid. We think that they might be onto something in regards to what's going to happen around the corner. So text the word liberty to 50505. That's liberty to 50505. Abolish the central banks, but in the meantime, invest like a central banker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, see? Get yourself some gold coins, see? Or get them in a Roth IRA, see? Yes, in the central banks, right? Text that word liberty to 50505, and we will be mucho gracias. Grateful, grateful, grateful. Yes. Well, you think with 1,000 people joining us live, we could get at least a few signups over there. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. I've got one more story, and I get to pick it, too. I'm going to let you guys choose the story that we're going to finish with here, guys. Let me know which one that you want me to do. This is the final story of the day. One is quit being a cynic at work. It's holding you back. And the other one is Gen Z plumbers and construction workers are making blue collar cool. So you choose blue collar or don't be a cynic. Let you choose. Now's your chance. I'm going to let you make a choice while we go. Latinos for Donald Trump. Vote in the chat. Which story do you want? Quit being a cynic at work, why it's holding you back, or blue collar Gen Z? Okay, you choose while we dance. Oh, yes, for Donald Trump. All right, Gen Z it is. They were the winners. So we're talking about AOC sex tape. What are you talking about? All right, so the next story, the one that we'll finish on, Gen Z plumbers and construction workers are making blue collar cool. Young social media stars earn more from TikTok than from their day job. This is a great story. This is someone by the name of Lexus Abreu. They're stripping cables in a ditch or troubleshooting a sparking outlet, but the size of her fan base doesn't mean too much to her. Yeah, they are blue-collar, Generation Z, TikTok influencers posting sexy, I'm guessing, videos of them changing cables or sparkless or sparking outlets, which is pretty funny. 2.2 million people watch Abreu do her work as an electrician in Cornwall, New York. She's got videos of her atop a bucket truck, adding utility outlets to power poles or fixing an electric panel in a water-damaged basement. She says you really just feel like a normal person until you get confronted by people and you're like, oh my goodness, this is real. People who know who I am. She's been posting videos since 2022. She's gotten thousands of messages of viewers who said that it sparked their interest in trade work, which is fantastic. Abreu's path is actually one that many young Americans are considering. Skepticism about the cost and the value of four-year degrees is growing. Enrollment in vocational programs has risen as young people are pursuing well-paying jobs that don't require desks or debt and come with the potential to be your own boss. You'll love to see it. Wes Fanning said, or Barney Styles says in the chat, I want to keep being a self-destructive cynic at work. I knew that you were going to be like that. Remember this, though. Cynics, they don't take any risks, so they don't risk anything, so they never lose. But then, since they don't take risks, that means that you never win either, right? So Abreu, she's got these videos. She's showing her blue-collar work. She's racking up millions in views. Some skilled trade influencers are actually so popular that they're making more money as influencers than they are doing plumbing or wiring. Homeowners who have taken to watching do-it-yourself YouTube tutorials and attempting their own sink or ceiling fan installations are also tuning in. People like myself who, we're trying to figure out how to take care of our house, me and Steffi, right? Steffi and I were talking about it this weekend because she was doing a little bit of paint job in the house, right? So we always watch YouTube tutorials before we do any home fix it. But this Abreu chick, she makes $200,000 a year from brand deals that she does with like Klein Tools and Carhartt, though she continues to work often 7 days a week. She says, I want my company to understand I'm a reliable employee. That's fantastic. So she wouldn't be getting those commercials. She wouldn't be getting those advertisements if she weren't also doing the blue collar work as well. So it works in tandem, hand in hand. Sounds like a really fine young lady and a really smart way to make a living. But, speaking of getting those brand deals, I hope that my wife Stephanie's new hustling and homemaking show gets her some brand deals someday. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, if you're a regular viewer of the show, you already know that my lovely wife, smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wife Steffi, does her own show, Hustling and Homemaking, which has a new episode each week, typically, although baby is coming soon, so there might be a little bit of an off period. Hustling and Homemaking's newest video today, Anarchy Gardening. Yes. What is anarchy gardening, you ask? Well, you'll have to watch the show to find out. Immediately after today's show is over, so it's about a little bit less than 10 minutes from now, Stephanie's new Hustling and Homemaking video, Anarchy Gardening, will debut. Austin, how do I watch Stephanie's new Hustling and Homemaking Anarchy Gardening video? It's easy, friends. You visit the coolest merchandise shop in the patriotic world. Just go to ap4libertyshop.com. When the show is over, watch the Hustling and Homemaking video. Stephanie has a new show featuring her stories, balancing pregnancy, motherhood, homemaking, and keeping a career on the side. You could follow along with her adventures in hustling and homemaking. Last week, I think, was karate while pregnant. This week, anarchy gardening. So, how do I watch the video? Well, when you go to ap4libertyshop.com, it will premiere live at 9:05 a.m. Central Time. So you will click here to watch the video. You click here, and it will take you to the video. It will also be here as well on our Rumble channel for those who are averse to other social platforms. I understand. So if you want to watch Anarchy Gardening, it will also premiere here at rumble.com. But if you want the easiest, simplest way, and then you exit through the Grift Shop anyway, you know what I'm saying? Yes. Anarchy Gardening available at 9:05 a.m. So if you click on that button before 9:05, then it won't be playing. But at 9:05 a.m., it starts live. And we're all going to hang out over there because it's a live premiere. So at 9:05, I'll be there. Steffi will be there. A bunch of you are all going to be there. We're all going to be hanging out watching her little 5-minute video, her adventure, her latest adventure in hustling and homemaking. So while you're there at ap4libertyshop.com, you're exiting the show through the Grift Shop. You're getting yourself a sexy American flag bikini, right? You're buying a 1776 Betsy Ross flag pair of shoes, right? You're going to get an I'm Just Here to Bang shirt so that it'll get there in time before the 4th of July, right? What about these cute Rosie the Riveter earrings? What about these beautiful bomb pop earrings? What if you show up to the 4th of July party wearing your I'm just here to bang shirt? Underneath it, you got your sexy American flag bikini on. You got your bomb pop earrings. Maybe you're a boy, so you're wearing the American flag swim trunks. Where else can you get such awesome merchandise? Only at ap4libertyshop.com. So head on over. Click on the hustling and homemaking video to watch Steffi 10 minutes from now. She will be live. I will be there with you. We will watch it together. We will hang out as you exit to the gift shop. Thanks so much for tuning into the Wake Up America show, guys. Thanks for all your financial support. Thanks for all the clicking likes and the follows. Baby P for Liberty will be born soon. Do we have size 14 wide? I have no idea. I'm about to get the hiccups, guys, so I'm going to get out of here. I don't know. Go check the shop. And you let me know, Agorizer. I got to go before I hiccup so hard I throw up. See you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central to 9 a.m. on the Wake Up America. Actually, I'm going to see you guys on Steffi's show, but then I'll see you guys again tomorrow morning on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bye, guys. Hiccup.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom
with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.